Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got some more crazy entitled parent stories for you. Entitled mother at a bank robbery. Okay, so this is going to be a bit odd, as you can tell by the title, so here's some backstory. I go to a graduate school in a city that's adjoined to a university-run hospital. As such, there's a bank just up the street that a lot of students, doctors, nurses, locals, and patients use all the time. However, the area around campus is a bit dangerous, with occasional gang violence, robberies, etc. I had received an email from campus police this week warning us that the very bank I'm talking about had been robbed just that week, and that no weapons were involved. Unlike the movies or in games, bank robberies are more or less handing someone a piece of paper saying you're robbing them, and per policy they comply with your demands. So the guy who robbed them had made a quick getaway, even though the police response times are usually pretty good around campus. Now for the story. I had just taken a quick break from my work in my lab and went to the bank to manage my money, to make sure my financial aid disbursement had hit my account and transfer it to savings. I'm not a fan of mobile banking, and then withdraw some cash to hit one of the nearby food trucks. There's a small line and I'm behind a brown-haired lady, EM, with the baby stroller and small kid at her side. The stroller was for the kid. A tall man with scrubs on, probably an RN from the hospital or someone who worked in the school of dentistry. A lankier looking guy who kind of smelled from all the way from the end of the line, and a guy at the teller taking a while to make a withdrawal. The entitled mother is talking on speakerphone to what I can only assume is an assistant from her job that has a list of HR complaints stacked as tall as they were, because the entitled mum would occasionally yell insults like, "You did what? You stupid idiot," or, "If I were as dumb as you, I'd be praying every day to thank God for your job, because clearly he would have to be involved for you to have that job." It was very annoying to everyone except the teller and the guy making the withdrawal. The guy finally finishes at the teller and then the line moves up. The entitled mum finishes her phone call and the guy ahead of her and I both sighed a little bit. The entitled mum then asked the man in front of her if she could cut ahead of him. "Excuse me, I'm in a hurry and I have to make a withdrawal and run home. I have to get some work done and then get my son to his swimming lesson." The guy replies, "Sorry, but I have to get back as soon as possible. These scrubs I'm wearing aren't for fun." The EM starts making a fuss, and I was honestly distracted from what was happening at the teller. As the entitled mum was ranting about her work and kids, spouting things like, "You wouldn't know the hardships of motherhood. You think you're the only one with a hard job. Try being a parent with a job." The lanky man at the teller had apparently slipped the teller a note demanding money. The note didn't say anything about a weapon, and the banker kind of just went through the steps they were supposed to, per policy. They didn't look frightened or make a scene, so I was none the wiser until after the fact. The lanky man left the bank with a substantial amount of money, tucking it away in his pants as he left. He then started running up the street, but I didn't care too much. It's the city, people do weird stuff. Karen starts trying to barge her way to the front of the line, but is completely ignored by the staff as they went about their business behind the counter. After the entitled mum demanded to speak to a manager, police showed up. The clerk gave them a description of the man and points out the direction he had run off to. All but two officers head out, while the two at the bank started asking questions. I realised what had happened by this point, but the entitled mum was not so quick on the uptake. She started grabbing one of the officers and demanded that they force the bank teller to let her make a withdrawal, saying it was illegal and that they should be arrested, throwing in occasional comments like, "You have no idea who you're talking to," and others along the lines of, "I'm a big deal, so arrest this pleb and let me leave." The officer informs her that she is a witness to a bank robbery and will need to give them her statement before she can do anything. Additionally, the bank would be temporarily closing. The entitled mum starts melting down at this point and goes on a tirade about how she needed her money, how this was all illegal. Yeah, you don't say, the bank got robbed. How there couldn't have been a robbery because she was there the whole time and nothing had happened, and how her son was going to miss his swimming lessons, all because of the stupid bank and the incompetent officers couldn't do their jobs. Looping back to her, "I'm a mum and I have a job and it's very hard" comments she made earlier. She even threatened to sue the officers and the bank for traumatizing my little 8 angel. Meanwhile, the kid was just quietly freaking out, not knowing what was going on. At this point, I just talked to the other officer and started filling out a form with my contact information and a written testimony of what had happened. I left the bank, and the last I saw of the entitled mother reminded me of a tomato because of how red her face had gotten. I mean that quite literally, because her face was stark red from the sheer rage she felt and all the shouting. The officer she was yelling at was one of the most professional people I've ever seen. The guy probably should have been a hostage negotiator with how calm he managed to keep while talking to the entitled mother. The next day, we received this email from campus police about the incident. Dear community, yesterday afternoon, the bank located inside the University Medical Center was robbed for the second time in a week. While no weapon was used or even suggested during these robberies, I know crime of any kind can be concerning and want to update you on the ongoing investigation. At approximately 1:10 PM yesterday, the bank located at blank was robbed. The same location was robbed last Tuesday. In both cases, the robber approached the teller and asked for money. We believe the same suspect is responsible for both robberies. He is described as a slim black male who is about 5'10". He was last seen wearing a striped shirt, red basketball shorts, and a black and grey hat, and was carrying a dark coloured backpack. I want to stress that we do not believe there is any current threat to the community. The robber did not threaten to harm anyone, did not say he had a weapon, and did not show a weapon. Our officers at the University Police Department responded and searched the area along with security and the police department, but were unable to locate the suspect. We will continue to investigate. Preventing crime is a community effort. If you see something, say something, and in an emergency, always call 911. I take all crime on our campus very seriously, and I'm committed to keeping our community safe. Resources are available to help you today and throughout the year, like our Safe Walk and Safe Ride program, which will get you safely to your destination 24/7. Now, I just want to highlight this line: preventing crime is a community effort. If you see something, say something. The entitled mother in this instance not only failed to recognize there was a robbery happening in front of her face, but also distracting other members of the public who could have done something to help at the time or later in the investigation. Back to the story, everyone was fine and I went about my day with an interesting story to tell my friends over a drink. In my opinion, I can't think of many worse circumstances than when an entitled parent actually aids the help of a bank robbery. That is mental. And then once the entitled parent actually realizes the police are there for a robbery, she still wants to get her money out. Like, lady, you are not the priority right now, there's been a robbery. Some people just don't understand. Anyway, moving on to our next story. Entitled mother and daughter tries to steal family dog, daughter almost gets bitten in the face. This story sounds like it has some potential for some good old justice. This story happened a couple of months ago. My parents were out of town and I was house sitting for them. It was a lovely Saturday morning and the weather was perfect, so I decided to take the dog for a walk. The dog, let's name her Luna, was a rescued miniature poodle found by my uncle after the previous owner left her outside for long periods of time, even in harsh weather, with hopes that she would run off, but she never left. Soon, Luna was later passed on to my mum. I also should mention that it's clear that when we got Luna that she had abandonment issues. Despite this, she really bonded to my family, especially me, my sister and my mum. I should also mention that Luna is very smart, well-mannered, protective and especially loyal. Me and my mum could let her off her leash and walk around the park, and Luna would always stay within 4 feet of us at all times and never would let us out of her sight. Luna is one of the best dogs our family has had the pleasure of owning. As I mentioned before, I was in a local park walking Luna. It was a beautiful morning outside and the park wasn't very crowded yet. About 3/4 of the way through our walk, I noticed a park officer make his way towards us. He stopped right in front of us and got off his bike. "Excuse me, sir, is that your dog?" "Why, yes, it is, sir. Is everything okay?" "Well, I got a report of a black guy walking a stolen poodle in the park, so I was just doing some investigation." "Well, I can assure you this dog is definitely not stolen. Watch this." I hand the officer the leash and slowly start to walk away. Luna started to whimper loudly as I get further away and starts to pull at the leash towards me. Soon, the officer lets go of the leash and Luna makes a beeline for me. The officer acknowledges that this is in fact my dog and gets back on his bike and tells me to have a good day. As we get to the parking lot to get in my car and go home, I notice in the corner of my eye a minivan not too far away from my car. It opened its doors and out comes an entitled mother and her 12-year-old daughter, both stomping towards me. I stop and turn to face both of them. "That's not your daughter and you know it." Mom, this is my family's dog. She's been in our family for years. Bullcrap, why else would a black man be seen walking around with a poodle? Because it's my dog, you crazy lady. During this exchange, the daughter of the entitled mother kneels down in front of Luna. Being as well-mannered as she is, Luna lets the daughter pet her. The entitled mother holds her hand out. Give us the poodle so we can find the real owners, or I'll report you to the police. Leave me alone, you crazy lady. Last chance, give us the poodle. At this point, I've had enough and decide to walk away. As I'm turning my back, the daughter unhooks Luna's leash from her harness, picks up the dog and starts to jog towards the minivan. This causes Luna to whimper loudly. I proceed to go after her, but the entitled mother blocks my way. I brush her aside, which caused her to pull on my shirt in an attempt to stop me. As the daughter is getting closer to the minivan, I see the usually sweet Luna turn into an absolute demon. She starts to thrash about in the daughter's arms and then proceeds to try and bite the girl's face, barely missing by an inch. All this caused the daughter to scream and drop Luna, who proceeds to make a beeline back for me. The entitled mother lets go of me and ran to her daughter to see if she's okay. At this point, I decide to waste no time and open my car door and tell Luna up, which she jumps in and sits in the passenger seat. I hop in the driver's seat, immediately start the car and drive away. In the rearview mirror, I see the entitled mother trying to chase after my car on foot, but she's way too slow to keep up. On the way home, I pet Luna on the head and tell her, good girl. I told my mum about the incident and she thanked me for keeping her fur baby safe. Well, it's good to hear that Luna made it out okay, as seen by this picture. What a lovely doggo. I don't know why entitled parents seem to have an obsession with stealing pets like this, but it's good to see that Luna was safe and okay in the end. Anyway, that is the end of today's story. I really hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching the entire way through. It is very much appreciated. Click on the screen for another entitled parent story right away.